guys should all be in an urban planning classroom teaching. All these issues come up in virtually every development project, and as Andrew has very clearly stated, if you start left and you're told to go right and we move right, well, the other half of the group wants to go back left. So this is about our third or fourth design. There are time limits on what we can do, and not to mention $500,000 in design costs at this point to accommodate all the requests. You can't do it all. So what we've come up with here is a set of compromises. And this wasn't our initial plan, but we looked at the city through the city council's eyes, through the city planning board's eyes, through the residents' eyes. I went out and spoke with Mr. Lopez afterwards, and I said, look, here's my card. Let's go to lunch. Let's talk about how to do this project in a way that's responsible for you. I said, if I lived across the street, I'd want to know what was going on, and I'd want to know how to mitigate some of those impacts. We're going to do that. You can see us or not, or believe it or not, or let us go through with this project or not, but we're going to do it right for the community. And the things you're talking about with density, you can't have too few and you can't have too many. We're 100 under what you wanted, but we're 20 over what we came in with, so we can't do both. The design aspect, I knew this would happen. I hesitated to even show you floor plans, because as soon as they come up on the board, everybody's got a better way. And that's true, but we're a year or 6 months away before we're going to give you a plan that we're going to actually ask to be approved. This site plan works for the marketplace. It works for the community. We've accommodated everybody's request, which is a good one, to face the streets. It will look like a great project. It will function like a great project. Whether the bedrooms are the right size or not, we're going to find that out over a long period of time, and you'll have a chance to take a shot at that. You can bite the apple a couple more times before we do this. We have the right size lots, the right size layout. At this point, I can't tell you how to do your jobs, but you're looking at the size and the density and the traffic flow. I mean, that cul-de-sac is designed by your fire department. We didn't pick that, you did. So it's a worthy discussion, but we have to do what everybody wants and still make it function for the market. If you go with multifamily to get the higher density, you'll have a disaster. If you try to have things like you said, you don't want the two-car garages because you're worried about the traffic, you'll have more congestion on the streets and more parking, and you'll have more crime than you've ever even thought of. I mean, refer to any urban planning book. I mean, this has been proven out time and time again. The fact you can get those cars off the street into a neighborhood, it's a safe transition from your car to your home at night. Wintertime, that's 5 o'clock. Mom's coming home from work. These families have two working couples or two working members in the family. You got to have two cars. You can say you don't want more garage parking. They're going to have the same number of cars whether you do it or not. You want them off the street and safe, or you want them on the street and being a problem. There's all kinds. I mean, I can go right down the list. I took down everything else said. We're 20 units more than you asked for. We got 6 BMRs more than you asked for. 3. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can I just ask a question that occurred to me? Did you give
board member as Ashcroft?
It is indeed. Did you give any thought to doing like attached townhouses? So rather than single-family lots with space around each?
We did. Of course we did. The solution, again, the compromise to do the best for what we thought was the visual aspect and the actual living. The people, if we don't get it right, they're not going to buy it. Bottom line is they'll determine what works or what doesn't. So if we make it look right. So if we had a line of homes, like a Georgetown row of homes or brownstones or something, yuck. We have duplexes. You'll have visual corridors through each one. You'll be able to see the landscape of these different projects. So we maxed the multifamily to 2. That's the best of all worlds. I mean, to make the most money, you'd probably go with all single family. But to get the density, we did duplexes or duets. Those duets will have visual corridors through everything, and it'll look a lot nicer, trust me. And you'll have access. By the way, there's a recent study, which I think you probably know about, that people don't use their yards. If you read the recent urban planning studies nationwide, everybody says they want outdoor living space. They don't use it. They don't use it at all. The average time, and I'll quote this, and I may be a little off, but the average time a child spends in his yard is 4 minutes a day. His parents is 6 minutes a week. Now, we want to have those yards because I grew up with a barbecue back there, and I grew up playing ball with my dad and things like that. We want some of that. But you can't make it a 5-acre lot on a 7-acre, Can't do it. I can't have 7 1-acre lots on that site. So this is our best solution. Again, not complaining. This is the dynamics of the process, and this is what makes it good. But the other things that you came up with, let's see. I mean, we will revisit that the lots 52, 53. I think you said. We'll take a look at that. Again, unfortunately, our lead architect is out of town tonight. Couldn't be here, but we got the best guys in the business doing this. We'll figure it out. Again, don't take this the wrong way, but not to please you, because we want to do it right for the people that are going to live there. Because if it's not good, it won't sell, and it'll never work. And another comment: all the BMRs, we don't have to do what we did. It's a guideline by the city. If whoever the developer is, us or somebody else, bulls their neck, you don't have to do it that way. We're doing it because Andrew asked us to, and we're spreading it through the moderate and the low and the very low throughout the site as requested, and we've got numbers that are beyond what I was asked to do. Why do we do that? Because it's what you wanted to do, but to a limit. We can't go beyond that limit. Most BMRs around the country, and especially in California.
I'm sorry, for people who aren't familiar with your terminology, can you explain what a BMR is, please?
Below market rate.
Thank you.
And my apologies.
It's all right, just not everybody who might be listening would be familiar.
Fair question. Fair good comment. Most of the time, if you ask us to do a BMR, it's tucked over here, and it's a skeleton of the rest of the development. So everybody suffers. These guys live with the image of being a second-class citizen. The rest of the neighborhood looks with scorn at the facade of a lesser house. All of these are the same. You will not know driving through this complex. Guess what? That costs a lot more money. Why do we do it? We're trying to do it right. So the process isn't finished. At this stage, we've done it more than right. In the next stage, let's look at it again and see how to design the decks, the garages, the driveways, and we'll get it righter. But are there any questions or any issues that you all brought up that I didn't just address? That was a very broad stroke, but there's a lot that you brought up that I'm happy to respond to.
I think that's actually all the items on my list, but I see Board Member Ezzy Ashcraft moving to the microphone.
I raised this in my earlier comments, but will your architect be looking at energy efficiency in the design?
Have to. It's code. Of course we would, but we have to. And so we can't bring you anything that doesn't meet the codes. And California is leading the country in the code requirement. Maybe to a ridiculous degree, but it's a good direction, and I support that.
We look forward to seeing what you come up with. Thanks.
Okay, so is this, I have one last question. Andrew, the driveways onto Buena Vista, is that lot design, or is that's not really part of the lot, is it? Whether or not those driveways would go into Buena Vista is not part of this process. That would be a different process. Or it is part of this process.
We certainly can change location of driveways and at the next stage, but the issue, I mean, what's kind of interesting is if the Buena Vista lots have homes facing out with garages facing on the Buena Vista, then at least you don't need Court J, Court I, and Court H. So it would change the map in terms of how that's laid out from a mapping standpoint.
Right, because you wouldn't need the courts behind.
Now, one of the adjustments that you could consider, and I would look to Mr. Shelton to see if he had any issue, is to just we've done courts and alleys where the property lines actually run to the center line of the rear alley, and it's just a public access easement to create the alley.
Alley's a harsh word.
Huh?
Alley's a harsh word.
I'm sorry. On the court, on the rear, that's the way the Grand Marina project
I agree
is
with
done.
the landscaping comment earlier.
The property lines actually meet in the middle of the court. And what that would do is it would give us some flexibility at the next step. If you decided to have your driveways on Buena Vista, then you wouldn't need the alley on the backside at all.
I frankly think that your solution was better than our initial submittal, because now you have your frontage, and that's what gives the neighborhood has to have charm, or it won't have a good feel as a community.
Yeah, no, I think the only issue is whether we want driveways on Buena Vista or not. For curb cuts is what I mean, for the garage doors.
Board Member Ezzy Ashcraft, I see you.
I mean, one of the things I liked about this was not having the driveways on Buena Vista. I don't know if you're familiar with areas of San Francisco out in the avenues, and they're backloaded, and the Midwest and back east. And I just think if you have attractive frontages, it's nice to see those. And I certainly do want to see traffic slow down, but I think there has to be better ways to do it than having people backing out of their driveways at rush hour and trying to turn in on a busy street at the end of the day. So,
Okay, well, that's separate. It
my
was just, that
thoughts.
was a suggestion by 3 of our board.
Eddie Sales, our engineer, who designed much of the traffic flow and utility parts of this.
Eddie Seal with Jerry Jensen as we're the project civil engineers. To your point about traffic calming, there are multiple ways of accomplishing that without relying on driveways backing out. I totally agree with you. I think one of the board members mentioned bulb bulbs, and that is a very effective way of accomplishing the traffic calming. Both mid-block bulb bulbs as well as curb return bulb bulbs. So there are, again, number of different solutions to accomplish that.
Okay, yes, board member.
I just have a quick question for Mr. Sheldon as well. Can you talk a little bit to I know this wasn't your initial design, but to Arbor Street actually continuing through and not having this cul-de-sac and maybe possibly removing 1 or 2 lots off of Buena Vista and somehow reconfiguring where Court B is and adding some lots in there, or maybe it's a loss of 2 and gain of 1.
Thank you. That's actually, I meant to respond to that earlier because it was a good point. And when we came in and started, we talked with Andrew about lining everything up. Unfortunately, the streets don't line up exactly the way you want to. We looked at a dozen designs that way. We couldn't get them to align. If you've got a way, I'm happy to see it, but it doesn't align, and it doesn't just affect 1 or 2. You'd have to snake it through, and what you can't do is have a car do a double turn in a period of 100 yards. And I don't think you want too many of those, not just curb cuts for the driveways. You don't want too many streets lining up because you can get speed through there. So the offset is actually potentially a good thing.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for coming forward to comment.
Thank you.
Appreciate
And
that.
we do look at this as an iterative process, so as we're going along, you approve the site plan and we go forward, we're still going to talk. We have a good relationship, and you can speak to how easy we are, if you will. We intend to get it right. I mean that.
Thank you.